For many people, middle school could possibly be considered as one of the worst times in your life. It's one of your first major steps in growing up. You got puberty, kids are meaner, schoolwork is harder, and there's no more recess. Truly the dark times. Luckily though, in 2004, Ned Bigby was there to have your back, with Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. A Nickelodeon sitcom that ran for 3 seasons, the show followed 3 friends, Ned, Mose, and Cookie. Ned was our level-headed yet goofy protagonist, Cookie was the nerdy tech guy, and Mose was the tomboy athletic girl who may or may not have a thing with Ned. Every episode had the 3 trying to navigate middle school, all while Ned would give tips to the viewer. Real-life tips that could come in handy. Especially for me. You see, I started middle school in like 2007, so me watching this show kind of acted like I was pre-downloading information for future use. So today I wanted to go through this iconic show and just reminisce. We're going to go through every episode, and I'll also probably give little anecdotes about my middle school life because it's cheaper than therapy. Let's go! The first day. Naturally, the first episode would cover the first day of school, and all the trials and tribulations that come with it, such as having a bad haircut with the iconic character Coconut Head, and bullies, like Loomer. Cookie comes to school overdressed, wearing a big puffy coat despite it still being hot outside. The main conflict of the episode comes with the gang's electives. Naturally, Ned and Cookie wanted all 3 of them to be in the same class together. However, Mose wants to branch out and make some new friends who are girls. Also, Ned and Cookie are still trying to get an elective that'll give them an easy A. Life science is what they end up with. You see, Cookie was able to hack into the school's computer systems and remove 2 students so they could be in the same class as Mose. However, he accidentally removed Mose. So now Ned and Cookie are stuck in life science, cooking and taking care of babies, with Mose ending up in woodshop. It wasn't her first choice considering she wanted to meet new girlfriends, but she ends up really enjoying it. The moral of the episode is don't panic. Things are gonna feel hectic on the first day of school with new classes or being separated from your friends, but that's just how it is, and it won't be the end of the world. Lockers. As you might guess, this episode deals with lockers. Mose wants to have a cool one so the other girls will, I guess, be impressed and want to be her friend. She's mainly competing with another girl, Susie Crabgrass, the popular girl who's her unofficial rival, and who Ned has a crush on. Meanwhile, Cookie's main issue, and I think the more relatable one for the viewers, is that he keeps being late to class. His locker's in a bad location, and the evil science teacher Mr. Sweeney makes him not run in the halls, being comedically evil levels of nitpicky. This is an episode where Ned actually gives some helpful advice.
Preset your lock's first 2 numbers, so later you can open it with the classic 1 turn.
We also get introduced to more characters. Lisa Zemo is a sick girl. That's her character. She has a runny nose and is always hitting the nasal spray. She also has a crush on Cookie that he doesn't reciprocate. There's Claire Sawyer, future lawyer, and Gordy, the eccentric janitor who has a rival with a weasel. He's played by Darren Norris, who voices Cosmo from The Fairly OddParents. Yeah, if only middle school had this many silly people. Bathrooms. Probably the worst thing you'll ever have to do in middle school. Ned accidentally walked into the girls' bathroom in elementary school, and it's followed him here.
It was kindergarten!
Mose, however, is afraid to go to the bathroom alone because of a group of bullies. The Huge Crew, which looking back is low-key kind of mean. The girls' bathroom has something called a hottie list. Girls write down a guy's name and other girls will write down what they think of him. So Ned convinces Mose to go in there and write down his name. It has good results.
Short, way short, uses the girls' room?
However, somebody did kiss the stall door. Gross. Mose remembers seeing Susie Crabgrass go in after her, so Ned deducts that it must be her. However, when he shoots the shot with Susie, she mentions how she borrowed someone else's lipstick. Whose exactly?
The Huge Crew. Hey, Ned.
Hey, I see this as an absolute win. However, since it's the early 2000s and people are cowards, he's not interested. A good episode with some actual good tips if you want to take a dump in school.
Go directly to the nurse's office. There's always a super clean private bathroom there.
Project partners. The gang have to do projects. With partners, Mose ends up choosing Seth, the cool guy basketball star who's a massive idiot. But he can do this. And Mose thinks he's hot, so that's all that matters. Naturally, she ends up having to do all of the work, slowly getting more frustrated with the fact that her project partner is useless. Meanwhile, Ned and Cookie are doing that project where you have to look over a toy baby. However, it was stolen, with ransom notes being left that if they want to see it again, they have to make Mose their project partner. It turns out this was Loomer's doing. Why? Well, he has a crush on Mose, turning into a total softie who's incredibly shy around her. She does take him up to be her partner though, since he'll actually do the work. Good job. Detention. The gang gets detention.
One more word out of you, and it's detention for you, too.
Word.
Detention!
With even Loomer explaining how scary it is because of 8th graders. Cookie tries to cope by putting on a tough guy persona, showing how much of a G he is. This episode is so funny because the main conflict has to deal with older students who want to beat you up, so throughout the episode, Ned is just giving you tips on how to avoid a beating. They eventually get saved by a sentient paper airplane that rips out this kid's eyeballs. Teachers. Yep, it's about teachers and all the different kinds you'll encounter. Ned is dealing with Mr. Sweeney, trying to figure out ways to brown nose and be the teacher's pet so he gives him good grades. Cookie is dealing with a super hot Spanish teacher that's causing him to flunk. I don't know, he's a gooner who can't focus. And Mose feels bad for a student teacher who doesn't have any confidence, trying his best as a new teacher, but all the middle school kids are being mean and rude. It's a nice episode, honestly. Cookie's problem obviously gets solved by transferring classes, probably realizing that if he just wants to look at hot Latinas, he can use the internet. Mose ends up working with the student teacher to get her in trouble, so he can instill the fear of God into the kids.
If you don't like the way I teach, perhaps you'd like to take it up with the vice principal.
And Ned doesn't know what to do. He's tried every trick in the book to win over Sweeney. That is until Mose says, "Have you tried just doing the work? Just try." So he does the assignment, with a really nice message for the viewer.
It's their job to teach us, which means if we fail, they fail. Which also means they hate giving out bad grades as much as we hate getting them.
Seating. The gang want to sit at the cool table for lunch. Whenever they try though, they're unceremoniously told to go eat rocks. Ned, however, is adamant on sitting there. Meanwhile, Mose gets moved to the front of the class for talking with her friends, where her grades start to immediately improve. This is front of the class propaganda and I will not allow it. Ned creates his own cool lunch table, full of security, strobe lights, and music, until eventually getting kicked out of it. The takeaway message is any table with your friends is the cool table. Unless you're friends with Martin Corley, the professional yapper. Tryouts. Everyone's trying out for some sport. Ned is trying out for basketball despite being shorter. Mose is trying out for both volleyball and basketball. And Cookie wants to be a cheerleader because of the girls. This is the second episode that had Cookie being a gooner. Ned desperately wants to be on the team, but ultimately doesn't make it. One of his tips being, IDK, maybe get taller, which is hilarious. Cookie seemingly wants to be a cheerleader simply for the love of the game. However, he doesn't make the team because he sucks. And Mose ends up being co-captain of the volleyball team with Susie Crabgrass. But the saddest part of this whole episode is poor Coconut Head also doesn't make the basketball team.
You can cry. You can stop now.
Crushes. The school dance is coming up and everyone's trying to get a date. Ned obviously crushing over Susie and wants to ask her out. However, it's handled really well. Once again, Ned's tips are actually pretty helpful if you're in middle school love.
A simple hello is a good start.
Meanwhile, Coconut Head has a flower and keeps approaching Mose. She doesn't have the heart to tell him no, so she spends the entire episode avoiding him. And Cookie, he's got some techno dating app that will match him up with the perfect girl, who ends up being Lisa Zemo. He doesn't want that. He wants to hook up with a literal pop star. I like how everyone reacts in this episode. It's middle school awkwardness and shyness at its peak. Ned is too shy to ask out Susie. Mose is too awkward to want to turn down Coconut Head. The episode ends with Mose asking Ned to turn down Coconut Head for her. But Coconut Head says he's actually supposed to ask out Mose for Seth, where a whole mix-up occurs that ends up with Seth accidentally asking Susie to the dance. Our hero's now dateless. Except for Cookie, who matches with the dog. Hooray? Dances. Yeah, the next episode is actually a continuation of the previous. Although again, I have no experience with this topic. I didn't go to any dances in middle school. Ned's plan is to try and find a way to break up Susie and Seth so he can shoot his shot. All while of course giving us tips like, stay away from the strict chaperones. Yeah, if you're trying to get freaky at the dance, Ned has got your back. Cookie literally ends up hacking the pop star's phone to trick her into coming to the dance. While he's waiting, Lisa asks him for a dance, but rudely says he's waiting for someone. However, she still dances around him. Lisa is an insanely sweet girl. Every episode she's in, she's nothing but kind and self-sacrificing for Cookie. Martika, the pop star, eventually shows up and does dance with Cookie until a husky chases her away because the husky likes Cookie. Yes, this dog has a jealous crush on Cookie. I can't believe this is actually happening. Susie eventually dumps Seth because ball is life, and Ned manages to squeeze in a dance with Susie. All's well that ends well. Sick days. Everyone's day is revolving around being sick. Mose is faking being sick because she doesn't want to give a presentation due to stage fright. Cookie is kinda sick, but has a perfect attendance record he doesn't want to lose. And lastly, Ned doesn't want to get sick because Matt Hoffman, famous BMX rider, is giving a demo for life science, since he's friends with Mr. Monroe. He's the flamboyant life science teacher, by the way. It's a fun episode with everyone trying to scheme in one way or another. And to be honest, everyone gets kinda screwed. Mose doesn't end up conquering her stage fright, she just gives a presentation in front of no one since everyone is sick. Ned gets put in a bubble boy ball to avoid germs, but the nurse checks the internal temperature and sends him home. Only Cookie gets to see Matt Hoffman since I guess he was the only one who wasn't really scheming. Spelling Bee. The Spelling Bee is coming up with everyone worrying for some reason. There's a group called the Killer Bees that spell at everyone. Everyone is rooting for Cookie because apparently everyone else is an idiot. The side plot has Mose officiating the event with Mr. Gross, who, as you might guess, is very gross. On the day of the Spelling Bee, for some reason, Ned keeps getting easy words. It looks like he may be the savior instead of Cookie. That is until
Honorificabilitudinitatis.
I genuinely don't know if that's a word, and I can't even begin to Google it because I can't spell it. Anyway, the reason Cookie lost last year was because of stage fright, so Ned tells him to imagine the crowd in their underwear, so everyone takes off their pants. Or at least the boys do. Looking at the extras' faces during this scene is so funny. And of course, with a happy ending, Cookie wins the Spelling Bee, and I assume the Killer Bees were beheaded. Wait, why do you two get to be in the picture? Rumors. After a misunderstanding, a rumor spreads that Ned likes Mose and is gonna ask her out. She eventually catches wind of this and is terrified. She likes Ned, but not like that. Lisa, though, has the right idea.
I always thought you two would make a nice couple. I'll bet he's gazing lovingly at a photo of you right now.
However, Ned obviously doesn't like Mose like that. Instead, he's focusing on another rumor, the atomic flush. The rumor goes that if you flush every toilet in the school at the same time, it'll make the school launch into space. Ned's trying to get Mose in on the plan, but she's constantly avoiding him so as to not get asked out. They both eventually realize what's going on and come up with a plan to fake go out and then fake break up in front of the whole school. Anyway, now with that little tease of Ned and Mose's romance out of the way, toilets! Sweeney is the only one who's actively trying to stop the plan. However, they manage to persuade him using science, and how a true scientist would want to test out any possible theory. This catches his attention, and he joins in.
Didn't I tell you it was a
Photo day. Everyone wants to have a good picture for the yearbook. Ned has always had the perfect picture, while Mose and Cookie have nothing but ugly stinkers. Also, SpongeBob is here. This opens up so many questions about the Nickelodeon universe, and it won't be the last time either for this video. Pretty simple episode. Cookie hires a model to be his stand-in, and Ned has some flattering words.
I see you smile all the time. You have a beautiful smile. You're a beautiful girl.
His plan is to make Mose laugh since she has that beautiful smile he loves, which he ends up doing at the expense of ruining his own picture. But hey, Ned doesn't seem to mind too much, as long as his friends are happy. Talent show. Everyone at school hates how sanitized the talent show is thanks to Mr. Wright, a well-meaning but kind of stick-in-the-mud teacher. So Ned holds his own talent show, where the school can show off all their silly talents. Mr. Wright needing to learn that, hey, the talent show is ultimately for the students, and despite how weird or seemingly useless the talents are, it means a lot to them, and to just go for it. Election. The school is voting for class president. Oh yeah, they go to James K. Polk Middle School, I haven't even mentioned that yet. The huge crew have nominated Ned to be class president, which he very much doesn't want to do, so Ned tries all kinds of ways to get himself disqualified, with every plan backfiring. For example, he tries to tag the lockers with spray paint, but it turns out it's the same colors as the locker, and he ends up cleaning up someone else's graffiti.
You gave me spray paint that matches the lockers?
Well, I can't let you deface school property. Besides, I'd have to clean it up.
However, Ned eventually decides to take it seriously when he realizes he might actually be able to make a change that benefits the students. So, the new class president ends up being the Weasel. Who am I to judge? Computer labs. Ned and Mose get kicked out of the computer lab. Ned for playing games, and Mose because Ned got her in trouble. The episode has the two trying to sneak their way in to use the computers. I don't think the computer lab teacher really has this kind of jurisdiction. Like, you could probably go to the principal and say, hey, the teacher won't let me in and I need to print out my homework. Boom! Instantly fired. Cookie's side plot is more interesting. He has this supercomputer that details his everyday schedule. However, it malfunctions and now he's completely useless on what to do with his life. So, Lisa Zemo comes to the rescue, helping Cookie with every single aspect of his day and looking after him. It's honestly super cute. Backpacks. This is one of those stupid middle school things that, looking back, makes you laugh at how seriously you may have ever took it. So Ned is desperately trying to find a backpack that'll make him cool. So he goes to the appropriately named Backpack Boy to find one. Backpack Boy's entire character is that he has a backpack. I hope that wasn't too much to follow. Ned has a backpack that has a GameCube, so hey, I wish that were me. Notes. Passing notes in school was an all-time classic. Before everyone had phones, of course. There's this annoying girl named Bitsy that makes Ned pass a note for her. He gets caught but doesn't rat her out. I guess because we're in prison and being a rat doesn't end well. Meanwhile, there's a mysterious forger at school who can write fake doctor's notes to get you out of anything. Cookie abuses this so he can sleep, have tasty treats, and skip class. Meanwhile, Mose is receiving all kinds of beautiful and poetic love notes. It turns out they're from Loomer. Mose is actually impressed, but Loomer's friends show up and start reading the notes, pointing out how lame and uncool they are. So sadly, Loomer denies ever writing them to keep up his cool guy image. The struggle of a sensitive artist. Oh yeah, and everyone hates Bitsy, so they superglue notes onto her so she gets detention. And probably has to get them surgically removed. Best friends. The Killer Bees want Cookie to join in on their gang. He's initially against it, but he gets a cool jacket, so I can't blame him. Ned starts to get a little jealous, since Cookie now has new friends, so Ned pretends to be besties with Seth to make him jealous. Meanwhile, Mose tricks her female classmates into taking a best friend quiz, where whoever scores the highest score is the most fit to be Mose's friend. And one lucky girl has scored 100%.
Doris Tremblay?
She goes to create small talk and they gladly take her in, mainly because she's friends with Ned and all they want to do is talk about him. Ned and Cookie's friendship starts crumbling more, so they get into a fight. Or whatever this is. It turns out, however, that the Killer Bees were just using Cookie to hack into the school servers to change their grades. So Ned comes back to defend his friend. They make up and Mose uses the huge crew to scare off the bees. The episode ends with Doris admitting that she cheated on that test, and the girl who really got the 100% compatibility was Susie Crabgrass. Daydreaming. Ned is daydreaming. Mr. Sweeney is upset that nobody's paying attention in class, so when the lunch bell rings, he won't let anyone leave until they answer his science riddle. I don't think you're allowed to do that. And on pizza days of all days, oh no, I hope that old man can throw hands. So Ned does what he does best. Daydreams some more and doesn't want to help. Or does he? His daydreams, despite being about him working as a spy, slowly has him start to think about Sweeney's riddle, along with some unexpected help.
Hey, Wanda! I've got an idea! How about we help out Secret Agent Ned?
Yes, this is everything I needed in life. Cosmo and Wanda help out Ned. It comes to him. He answers the riddle correctly, much to Sweeney's surprise. And he's rewarded with no pizza. It's not easy being a hero. It's a really great episode. The message is about how daydreaming and taking a step back can help you problem solve. Everyone learns and studies differently. There's not just one right way to do it. Ned daydreaming was him thinking about the riddle. It's why he couldn't just wish for Cosmo and Wanda to give him the answer, because in his daydream, he literally didn't know the answer yet. A great episode. Gym. Gym class this week has a karate program, where Mose knocks Ned on his butt, embarrassing him in front of everyone. So, hilariously, Ned's plan for the entire episode is to train so he can beat up Mose and get revenge. Ah, young love. Cookie's side plot is more relatable. He doesn't want to take a shower after gym class because that's actually gross. Did anyone ever have to do that, by the way? My middle school did have showers, but they never made us use them. Still though, I hated changing into my gym clothes. So Cookie makes a deal with Seth. He'll do his homework, and Seth will somehow disguise himself as Cookie in gym class. He eventually gets caught and learns how important exercising is to help fuel the brain. And Ned learns that he shouldn't want to beat up Mose. Gee whiz, I'm sure glad he learned that tough lesson. Cheaters. Bitsy constantly looks at Mose's paper during a test, which she doesn't like. And I'll be honest, I hate that too. You see, I had this stupid idiot in my history class who blatantly and comedically looked at my papers like this, not even trying to hide it. But what's worse is that I didn't even know anything. I had like a D in that class, so that guy was so desperate and stupid, he literally resorted to copying off of someone who didn't know anything. Meanwhile, Ned didn't study for his test and is considering cheating. After using Cookie's MetaQuest to virtually study, however, he eventually comes clean to his teacher and is going to let him retake the test on another day so he can actually study. And Mose purposely gets a bad grade on a test so Bitsy fails too. When she yells at Mose for being dumb, the teacher overhears this and executes her. I mean, I guess that's what happens, considering this is Bitsy's final appearance in the show. Bullies. I'm surprised it's taken this long. Ned and Cookie hear that Loomer is looking for them, so they devise a plan to take him out. However, it turns out that Loomer just wanted to ask about Mose. But when he sees the trap they laid, he changes his mind and does plan on beating them up. Bully episodes are always kinda hard to do in my opinion, and even this show kinda has some bad advice. It's things like, know where the bully is and don't be there, or hang out with a teacher. In a silly turn of events though, with Ned and Cookie's constant scheming to get out of a fight, it ends up weirding out Loomer to the point where he gets the school council to have Ned and Cookie leave him alone. Classic middle school BS. You ever see this picture? Study it. It's too real. Emergency drills. It's the end of the school year and everyone is dealing with stuff. Mose has a zit and is embarrassed. That's about it. And Ned realizes he's just been crushing on Susie this whole semester without actually shooting his shot. And whenever he gets the chance in this episode, a bunch of emergency drills and fire alarms stop him. It's a pretty forgettable episode, honestly. And the final episode for season 1 is Late Bus. It's the last day of school, but the bus is late. So everyone keeps themselves entertained however they can. Ned still wants to ask out Susie. Cookie is giving a tour of the school after hours, and Mose meets a cool girl who might actually be able to be her friend. This is Jennifer too. Loomer also wants some help. He makes a deal with Ned, saying if he gets him on a date with Mose, he won't beat him up for a year. So Ned helps give him a makeover and attitude shift to be more Mose's type. It turns out this is Jennifer 2's last day of school, but says Mose can be friends with her bestie, Susie Crabgrass. Remember how she was perfectly compatible with Mose? It finally comes full circle, where the two actually try to get along. While the two are talking, Loomer nervously yells if she'll go to the mall with him, which Susie assumes the invitation is for her, and she says yes. Not exactly how Ned wanted to end the school year, but hey, at least he's got his friends. Season 1 of Neds Declassified is a great trip. The show started out seemingly wanting to act like a genuine guide for kids to follow, and while the tips tended to vary in quality, the latter half of the season definitely had a stronger focus on storytelling, with the tips being a bit of an afterthought. Ned, Mose, and Cookie are all incredibly likable and feel like an archetype that every middle schooler could fall under. The show had a very unique feel. It was made by Scott Fellows. Never heard of him? Well, that's because this was actually his first major project, eventually going on to make Big Time Rush and Johnny Test. Which now that I know that, if there's one thing for certain, it's that this man loves his sound effects.
Sorry.
The show just had a very different feel compared to most sitcoms aimed for a younger audience. For one thing, there's no Dan Schneider, so the writing isn't as LOL random compared to something like Drake and Josh. There's no studio laughter or typical sitcom camera work. Every episode really does feel like a day at school. There's plenty of plot lines that stay consistent. Loomer having a crush on Mose, Mose being really good at woodshop, Cookie hating PE, Ned going into the girls' room. But they're not brought up in every episode, just only when it's necessary. Another thing I like is the dynamic between Ned and Susie. Susie is never really portrayed as stuck up or a bitch. She more so feels like the popular girl that's just out of Ned's reach. She's never outright mean to him. She's actually shown to be pretty sympathetic to Ned sometimes. So their will they won't they feels more possible, rather than Ned just chasing an impossibility with a girl he has no chance with. What the show does best is manage to balance the over-the-top, wacky characters and scenarios with the down-to-earth teenager moments when it comes to relationships and growing pains. Oh yeah, and that theme song is so catchy. Da, 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 na, na, na. You feel me? So, hey, let's move on to Season 2 and see what surprises middle school has in store. With the new season comes a new semester, and goodness, puberty hit these guys like a truck. Seriously, comparing every character to their Season 1 counterparts looked like years went by. Everyone's got some new semester goals. Cookie takes on an alter ego named P. Cookie to be more cool. Loomer and Susie are still dating, Susie being a mean controlling girlfriend and Loomer being a wuss. Both Ned and Mose want them to break up. Mose so she can actually hang out with her new friend, and Ned because he still wants to date her. Again, there's not really any tips in this episode. There's a stronger focus on storytelling. Ned and Mose come up with a plan to date so it'll make Loomer jealous and break them up. Yeah, and let's totally fake like we like each other. Meanwhile, Loomer's buddies now befriend P. Cookie since they need a new bad boy, with Lisa Zemo being unhappy with Cookie's fake personality. Loomer wants to break up with Susie, so Ned tells him to revert back to his leather jacket bully self. However, it turns out Susie was already gonna break up with Loomer because he's a soft wuss. So when he shows up being all bad and tough again, it doesn't go well.
You got a problem with that? No, I like it.
And Lisa is able to convince Cookie to just be himself, because in her eyes, the real Cookie is cool. Electives. This episode kind of retreads Season 1, Episode 1. With the new semester comes new electives. Ned still wants to find an elective that'll give him an easy A. He's adamant on the gang taking cooking. However, Mose wants her friends to try woodshop since she really likes it. And Cookie actually enjoyed his time in live science and wants to do it again. Yeah, once again, very reminiscent of the first episode, with the message ultimately being the same. Take an elective that you actually care about, and don't worry about finding an easy A, even if it means being separated from your friends. Pep rallies. We get introduced to a new character, Missy. Basically, the new Bitsy. Nobody wants to go to the stupid pep rally because Missy makes it all about the cheerleaders and football players, with everyone mentioning how there are other clubs at the school that go unappreciated. So, Ned, Mose, and Cookie plan on hijacking the pep rally and giving love to all the students and clubs that go unnoticed. A really nice sentiment, but no, pep rallies are forever stupid. You shout out to the sewing club, though.
And the sewing club!
Lunch. The most important class of the day. The episode has two main conflicts. One has Ned and Fred's dealing with a kid named One Bite. He goes around taking a massive bite out of everyone's lunch, so they gotta come up with ways to stop him. They try eating their lunch really fast so he doesn't get a chance, but that just gives them a tummy ache. Eventually, Ned gets the idea to make a super hot and spicy sandwich. So when One Bite eats it, he gets third-degree burns and will never do it again. What's funny though is that he's always asking for One Bite, and everyone lets him do it. What would happen if they just said no? The second plotline follows Mose trying to have lunch with Susie. However, she's always turning her down. So Mose follows Susie to see why she's so busy during lunch. And it turns out Susie is actually on the lunch program. Her family doesn't have a lot of money, so she helps serve food and gets a lunch out of it. She's embarrassed by this, considering Missy would make fun of her, since I guess they're besties, but Mose lets her know that there's nothing wrong with doing that, considering Mose herself did that too when she moved towns, helping strengthen their new friendship. School clubs. The gang are looking for some after-school clubs to join. Ned learns that Missy is creating her own middle school survival guide club. However, it's full of terrible advice that just benefits popular kids. So Ned spends the entire episode trying to burn it down. Meanwhile, Mose and Susie are looking for a club they can both join. However, they're both incredibly competitive and end up turning every little thing into a competition, getting kicked out of every club in the process. But at least they're having fun. Ned eventually burns down Missy's club, metaphorically. Her club is for quote-unquote losers who want to be popular, so Ned gives a motivational speech about how they're not losers, and to just join a club that they're passionate about. I really like Missy as the new protagonist. She really is the worst kind of person you'll experience in middle school, and Susie and Mose end up joining a D&D group. Video projects, alright!
But no cursing.
Aw, fuck! break. The gang have to do video projects. Mose wants to make a documentary on Mr. Right. So Mr. Right tries to act all cool and epic so the students don't think he's a boring teacher. He's probably the most likable and normal teacher in the whole school, and Mose thinks a documentary showing off the real Mr. Right is cool enough. Meanwhile, Loomer found a video of Martin Corley playing with a broomstick like Star Wars Kid. Man, this really dates the episode. When I saw this back in the day, I wasn't watching YouTube yet, so I never knew what it was referencing. Eventually, everyone starts mocking Martin, and Ned sees how much this upsets him. So for his video project, he ends up doing a good deed, playing that video of Martin with the broomstick, but editing it to look like a cool ninja fight, where everyone now thinks Martin is the coolest guy. Good job, Ned. Also, to bring it full circle, there is a video of the Star Wars Kid with lightsabers edited in, so I know it's a bit late, but hey, he also got his Martin Corley moment. Notebooks. Mr. Sweeney mentions how there's a golden magical notebook he has that will help any student pass any assignment, so naturally Ned wants to steal it to help him out on the test. Meanwhile, Mose finds an old notebook in the Lost and Found that has rumors about everyone in school. This starts to cause all the students to freak out and spread rumors about each other.
CH hates Billy's guts and is gonna kick his butt? Coconut head!
After reading more into it though, Mose realizes that this is an old notebook that just so happens to have names like Susie, Billy, and Lisa. With the help of Gordy, Ned creates this complicated heist to steal the notebook, which he's successful in doing. He studies it and successfully passes the science test, where Mr. Sweeney reveals something. That's his science notebook. It was literally just a notebook to study. There weren't any answers or cheat sheets. So why go through all the trouble of creating that story?
Because I learned a long time ago that some students need to be tricked in order to learn.
I love that. It's like Mr. Sweeney remembers how Ned solved his riddle in Season 1 by daydreaming. At that moment, he realized that some students need a different approach to apply themselves.
Why didn't you just loan it to me?
Because then it would have been just another boring assignment for you to ignore.
Math. Easily the worst subject of all time, and the episode kinda shows that off in different ways. Cookie and Mose get transferred to a new math class. Cookie's new teacher is Dr. Xavier. She's from a vague foreign country who's incredibly strict and old-fashioned. So Cookie spends the entire episode trying to loosen her up and create a more relaxed environment. Mose is also in an advanced math class now, however, she's having a hard time understanding everything and feels lost. Not asking for help, which is causing her to break out. And lastly, there's Ned, who's befriending the math nerds and creating this super cool group with them so they feel included, and will mainly do his homework in return, which obviously isn't cool. Mose learns that it's okay to ask questions if you feel lost, and Ned realizes he shouldn't just use people to do his work, and that if he truly wants to be in a math group to help him learn, he needs to share the workload. The overall message is that math creates problems, I think. Valentine's Day. Oh, young love. Ned wants to send a love note to Susie since Loomer is out sick and won't find out. Cookie plans on sending himself a bunch of roses so all the girls will think he's popular and wants him. Mose ends up receiving a lot of flowers herself, making her the most popular girl that all the boys now want. The huge crew go on a beating spree since no one ever sends them a Valentine's card. They take out their frustration on Coconut Head, who actually likes it.
What can I say?
I like tough girls.
My man! To calm them down, Ned writes them a basic Valentine's Day card. However, they get mixed up. So Susie ends up receiving the basic card, and the huge crew gets Ned's emotional, heartfelt card that was meant for Susie, having them fall in love even more and stop their violent spree.
Aren't you gonna throw me? I'm cute and tossable!
The episode ends with Ned once again doing a good deed. He told the huge crew to meet him in Gordy's broom closet for 7 minutes in heaven, which is basically where you make out in the dark for 7 minutes. 7 minutes go by, and Ned looks fine.
Wow! What a Valentine's Day!
Once again, my man. School websites. A pretty silly filler episode. Mose wants to promote the volleyball game, so Phineas over here photoshops Mose as a hot babe. They end up selling tickets, but, I don't think that's okay. They also put a camera on the weasel to capture crazy footage. They end up catching Mr. Sweeney picking his nose, and when he finds out, he says he'll have the tech teacher fired if they don't remove it from the site. Seth was in charge of creating the password, but he forgot. Not a smart move by everyone else. So the entire episode has the gang trying to catch the weasel, log back into the site, and delete the videos. Vice Principals. We get introduced to a new character, Vice Principal Krubbs. He's got this whole Miami Vice thing going on. Anyway, he comes off like a total douche like most Vice Principals tend to, but ultimately, he is a good guy who isn't out to get anyone. Someone around school is mysteriously smashing up equipment with a hammer. Vice Principal Krubbs thinks it's Loomer and plans on expelling him. However, he's innocent and it's up to the gang to figure out who the real culprit is. Where it turns out it was Lisa Zemo. She's the school treasurer and realizes that if equipment gets destroyed, it'll be replaced with new ones. So she ultimately did all of this to help out the school and give the teachers a better experience, which they're happy for. So she's off the hook? Mondays. Ned and Mose hate Mondays. They're totally drained and unmotivated to start the week, which I think is really relatable. Nobody likes starting off the week. Ned desperately tries to think of ways to make Mondays fun days. However, nothing works. He even gives up entirely, saying there's nothing he can do. A great metaphor for how Mondays just take the life out of you. What I really like is the resolution. Ned doesn't actually come up with any tips. Instead, he borrows his friends' advice who have already solved their Monday blues. Lisa Zemo packs a special Monday lunch, Mose decides to wear her favorite outfit, and Coconut Head goes to the movies every Monday. The message, of course, being to find your own special thing that'll make Mondays less painful. Even the little things can make a huge difference. For me, middle school is when I started to get interested in RPGs, so I personally spent every day, Monday included, just thinking about getting home so I could continue those adventures. Granted, it wasn't great for my schoolwork, but that's besides the point. Your body. Naturally, an episode like this was bound to happen. Another reason why middle school can be awful. Ned is upset that he's small and weak. Meanwhile, this girl is bullying Mose for being tall, which makes her insecure about her height, trying to remain tiny and small. I guess this is all the ground you can really cover in a kid's show. It turns out this girl was only bullying Mose because she's insecure about how short she is, with Miss Durga, the gym teacher, explaining how you're growing up and yada yada, your bodies will continue to change, yada yada. Ned and Loomer end up having a weightlifting contest, with Miss Durga training Ned on proper form, and using that, he's able to outlift Loomer, embarrassing him in front of the whole school. Procrastination. I'll talk about it later. Oh wait, Ned's a bit of a procrastinator, so much so that Mose mocks him and has zero faith he'll do his project. So the two make a bet. If Ned doesn't finish his project on time, well, the usual stakes are on the line. Which we'll learn about, don't worry. It looks like this is an easy win for Mose. Ned's bad habits keep getting the best of him. He eventually realizes he needs help and goes to Mr. Right, mentioning his procrastination and how he wants to conquer it. We then cut to a fun montage, with Ned seemingly still procrastinating, doing origami, watching ninja movies, and selling sushi. The day of the presentation comes, and it turns out Ned's project is on Japan. Yeah, all of those silly little things were actually him working on the project. However, since Mose spent the entire week antagonizing Ned, she never worked on her project. She fails her clogging demonstration and now has to eat defeat. Huh. Interesting. The episode ends with Ned actually giving some good tips for fellow procrastinators. If you have a project on your plate, try breaking it down into easier and simpler, smaller tasks. Start small and work your way up. And most importantly, don't do nothing. Gross biology dissection. Do they still do this? When I was in middle school, we had to dissect a worm. It was kinda gross, so I just made my lab partner do all the work. Thanks, man. Sorry I was useless. Ned is stuck at a crossroads. On one hand, him and Mose have been psyched all year to dissect a frog. However, Susie is disgusted by the idea and starts protesting it, wanting Ned on his side. Young love will make you do stupid things. He ends up siding with Susie, and they steal the frog from Sweeney's class. It ends up escaping, so Cookie and Gordy go on a little side quest to secure it. Ned gets sick of choosing sides and ultimately comes up with a solution, convincing Mr. Sweeney to offer virtual dissections for those who don't want to do the real thing. Susie's grateful for Ned's deed.
What are you doing? You know I'm still going out with Loomer.
Man. Upperclassmen. So there's this upper class guy named Jock Goldman who immediately takes a liking to Mose. That is hilarious. It's like a meme that older high school guys prey on the younger girls, and this episode actually just goes with it. Jock is a total jerk to Ned, but is super sweet and flirty with Mose. Meanwhile, there's a girl named Vanessa that Cookie has a crush on. She's an 8th grader and in the same math class as Cookie. So he lies to her, saying he's also an 8th grader so she'll like him. And yes, Jock is also technically an 8th grader, but he looks 20. Meanwhile, Ned is giving tours of the middle school to 6th graders, and there's this one kid who keeps stealing pants and getting Ned into trouble. It turns out Jock was actually just using Mose to get his ex-girlfriend jealous. It's pretty mean stuff, honestly. He really is a dick.
So if you don't want it, I'll give it to this girl.
This girl?
Luckily though, Ned is there to give her some comforting words.
Such an idiot. No, he's the idiot. Any guy would be lucky to have you as his girlfriend.
The episode ends with that evil 6th grader stripping Jock down completely naked and vandalizing his body. Dares, the cornerstone of every middle school bad decision. Mose dares Ned to ask out Missy. He does, and she says yes. Ned dares Mose to wear a dress. Okay, seems kinda minor after what she made you do. They go to the sewing club and see Jerry. It's a running gag that he's not in the sewing club and poorly tries to hide it. Meanwhile, Cookie and Loomer are having a dare-off. Basically, they dare each other to do more and more crazy things until one of them backs down. Mose wears a dress to school and gets invited to hang out with a group of girls. May, June, and
July? Actually, my name is Julie.
Mose thinks that they're robots because of little context clues like SpongeBob did to Mr. Krabs. Ned actually went on the date and had a good time. However, he lets it slip that he did it on a dare and she breaks up with him. As for Mose's robot friends, no, they're not robots, they just have quirks. The whole climax of the episode takes place outside because of Loomer and Cookie's extreme BMX dare, and Matt Hoffman is here once again! Bad habits. Everyone is trying to work on a bad habit. Mose trash talks too much during her volleyball games. Cookie is a massive hoarder. He manages to drop the habit, but instead picks up another one to cope with it. He's basically trapped in a vicious cycle of bad habits. And Ned just can't say no to anyone, with everyone constantly asking him for favors he doesn't want to do. Eventually, everyone finds a solution. Mose plays volleyball with tape on her mouth, Cookie just taking one step at a time, and Ned...
No? Okay, no problem. See ya.
It's so funny. I can really relate to Ned here. In his mind, saying no would be the end of the world. He's afraid of letting people down and doesn't want to come off like a jerk or something. But in reality, everyone's just like, oh, okay. The classic trap of the overthinker. Substitute teachers. Usually the best surprise you could hope for in school. Ned is trying to help out his favorite substitute, Mr. Wiener, a silly, lighthearted guy whose antics worked wonders in elementary school, but is having a harder time reaching the now middle school students, who are meaner and edgier. Meanwhile, Mose gets peer pressured into convincing the substitute teacher to let the kids relax and goof off. Cookie is also somehow substituting 7th graders. That's illegal, I think. James K. Polk is definitely getting shut down. I think everyone's been on both sides of substitute teaching. On one hand, yeah, the substitute teacher is a great time to goof off and find excuses to not do the work. But I've also occasionally felt bad for a sub when the other kids were overly mean to them for no reason. The new kid. There's a new girl in school named Bernice. She's a tough, bad girl. Ned, being a good person, helps her out while giving some tips on how to make the new kid welcome, which Bernice views as him flirting with her and says they're now dating.
Why do I attract weirdos?
Ned, I love you, but you are a weak man. Meanwhile, Cookie gets transferred into a new English class and puts on a British accent, since he's technically a new kid now. However, there's another new kid in the class who is also British, and he's on to Cookie shenanigans. Both storylines have a similar outcome. The British kid is actually just from Ohio. He's new and wanted to have everyone think he's cool. Same with Bernice. She's moved schools multiple times now, and each time she's given herself a makeover to be different. Ned tells her to just be herself. And it turns out the real Bernice is a nose-picking math nerd. Where I think the main tip is pretty obvious by now.
Be yourself, and be patient. You will find someone who likes the same things you do, and you will make friends.
Shyness. Both Ned and Mose are upset they can't get Susie's attention. However, a solution walks through the gym doors. Stacy and Tracy. They're nerdy math twins. Perfect! One twin can be Ned's new GF and the other Mose's friend. They're incredibly shy and need to break them out of their shell. Ned takes Stacy to try to build up her confidence. However, Tracy ends up adopting the style and personality of whoever she hangs out with. After multiple costume changes, she admits that she doesn't know how to be her own person yet, which actually takes this silly plot on the surface and turns it into something pretty deep. Middle schoolers are the most impressionable people on Earth. It's when kids are experimenting with styles and personalities the most. Breaking out and finding new potential friends is scary, and it's okay if by middle school you're still not ready for it. Eventually, you will come out of your shell. A surprisingly deep message for an episode that was seemingly goofy. Nicknames. Ned wants a cool nickname, like Cookie or Mose. He's trying to give himself a cool nickname, but due to his antics, he always ends up with a lame one. Meanwhile, Mose doesn't want to be called Mose anymore. She wants to be called Jennifer. So she goes on an adventure to convince the few people that do call her Mose to stop. Ned eventually calls Mose Jennifer, but she says she isn't used to Ned calling her that, with another really cute moment.
It's because I've been calling you Mose since I gave you that nickname in the 1st grade, remember? You wanna know what a Mose is? It's a super cool girl who happens to be my best friend.
You are such a dork sometimes.
It's a super cute payoff, considering the main reason she didn't want to be called Mose anymore was because she didn't even know what a Mose was. However, with this context, it finally means something. Asking someone out. Susie and Loomer break up, meaning Ned can finally ask out Susie. However, he's too shy. Ned, maybe you should have watched the last episode. So he tries to have his friends ask her out for him, with each one completely bombing in their own special way. Meanwhile, Mose is trying to ask out Seth, but he's an idiot.
Mose would like a date.
Then tell her she's got one.
Eventually, Ned comes up with this Rube Goldberg plan to get everyone in school involved so Susie ends up in the romantic classroom with Ned, where he finally builds up the courage and asks her out.
No.
Oh, she says she just broke up with Loomer and isn't ready to date again. They still remain friends, of course, but as for now, no Ned and Susie. Recycling. The school is having a recycling contest, where whoever recycles the most wins a new bike. Everyone in school loses their minds and comes up with silly and crazy schemes to win. And yeah, I guess clean up the environment, but more importantly is that bike. That's about it. Lots of fun shenanigans that ends with the Weasel winning. Spirit Week. The worst time in school. You know, you gotta show school pride, every day is a stupid dress-up day. Ned is desperately trying to become Spirit King, since Susie always wins Spirit Queen. And as it goes, the Spirit King and Queen always end up going out. I also really relate to Loomer in this episode. He doesn't give a single fuck about Spirit Week. Meanwhile, Mose and Cookie are dealing with the Spirit Stick. Whoever touches it last has to take care of it, and if it touches the floor, then it's bad luck for the entire school and everyone will hate that person. So they end up in a game of tag, so the other ends up with the stick. Susie naturally becomes Spirit Queen, with Ned seemingly on his way to become king, but Mose and Cookie throw the Spirit Stick in the air. But before it hits the ground, it accidentally lands in Loomer's hands, instantly making him Spirit King. And therefore, him and Susie are destined to go out. Again. Clothes. Another one of those stupid middle school moments that feels like it's the most important thing in the world at the time. Missy and her friends are the fashion police, writing up citations to students who they deem unfashionable. They give Mose a ticket and she becomes insecure about her style. Luckily, Ned has some nice words.
I'm not fashionably challenged, am I?
You dress awesome, comfy, relaxed, like a guy.
Oh. So Mose decides to dress all girly and uncomfortable, but at least she fits in now? Cookie, meanwhile, wants to end gender norms. Wow, didn't expect that. He goes to Jerry, who's totally not in the sewing club, so they can work together to create the perfect outfit that's gender neutral and will be comfy and cool for everyone. Obviously, the main message here is that you should wear whatever you like. Don't let the popular kids bully you for not wearing what they think is cool. So, everyone in school ends up giving Missy a taste of her own medicine, ticketing her for being lame and generic. Cookie and Jerry also show off their new revolutionary outfits. But it turns out the world wasn't ready for it. I'm sorry, Cookie, you fought the good fight. Secrets. Ned catches Loomer kissing Missy, and since he's dating Susie, again, he thinks this is the perfect opportunity to break them up. However, Loomer finds out and threatens to beat up Ned if he spills the beans. Ned is trying to figure out why Missy is even dating Loomer, but it's a secret. Mose and Seth are teamed up for a project. However, Seth once again passes all the work to Mose. However, there's now actually a reason for this. She learns that Seth isn't good at reading or writing, and he's embarrassed, keeping that a secret. It's a very sweet side plot. Seth doesn't want anyone to know or else he'll get kicked off the basketball team. However, Mose realizes this is a real problem, and ends up confiding in Mr. Right. Cookie is also dealing with Jerry. This new friendship is hilarious. He's obviously hiding the fact that he's in the sewing club from Loomer, with Cookie saying that if he's a real friend, he won't care. However, every time he tries to tell Loomer, he gets interrupted.
I'm in the...
Susie eventually finds out about Loomer's secret and breaks up with him. We also learn that Missy was just using Loomer so her parents would send her to Paris for the summer, and it worked. And Loomer admits he never liked any of them. and still only likes Mose. But most importantly, Jerry has something to say.
I am in the...
Car wash. The school is having a car wash. Boys versus girls. And then, shenanigans. It's a good break, I guess, from the somewhat plot-heavy and character-driven stuff in the last episode. What's interesting is that this entire episode takes place outside. Yeah, car washes! Okay, next. April Fool's Day. Vice Principal Krubbs is on a pranking rampage, terrorizing students and teachers alike with his pranks. So Ned and Cookie work with everyone to devise a plan to get him back. Mose, meanwhile, is dealing with something else. She realizes her and Seth have nothing in common and wants to break up with him. She tries to do it before class, by the way, not cool, but Seth thinks it's just an April Fool's prank, Ned rightfully pointing out how much of a bad plan that was. So Mose tries to act like Seth in hopes that she annoys him enough so he breaks up with her. But nothing ends up working. This kind, big-hearted idiot just doesn't understand. Excuses. This episode is actually a bit of a follow-up from the previous, at least with the Mose and Seth storyline. Seth keeps trying to make plans with Mose, so Ned tells Mose to just make up a lie about her sick grandma. Just then though, Vanessa, yeah, remember her, cancels plans with Cookie because of her sick grandma, which has Cookie feeling suspicious that she's lying. We then get a bunch of grandma shenanigans. Mose dresses up as her grandma to convince Seth about the lie. However, when she sees how caring Seth is towards her grandma, she changes her tune and likes him again. Meanwhile, Cookie runs into Vanessa's grandma and is convinced she's pulling the same scheme. So he pushes her down the stairs. But this turns out to actually be Vanessa's real grandma. We've all been here before, right? The following episodes continue this trend of continuing storylines and plots between an episode. So, in case you didn't know, every episode of Neds Declassified is 30 minutes. Within that 30 minutes, there's two 15-minute episodes. Before, we'd get two random plots and random episodes. But now that the stories are crossing over, it feels like we're getting a half hour's worth of plot. I really like that. It makes it flow a lot better. Science fair. Sweeney says that Ned is a lazy bum who's going to do a which paper towel is strongest science experiment for the science fair. So to prove him wrong, Ned is trying to find the perfect science experiment. Meanwhile, Vanessa says her grandma doesn't want her seeing Cookie anymore. You know, because of the assault. So Cookie tries to convince Vanessa to let him meet her grandma and make a better first impression. She's coming to the science fair and Cookie plans on spending time with her. So he gives up his own experiment for Ned to use. Some cybernetic arm, and he uses Mose as his test dummy. Cookie's redemption is going well, until he eats a brownie with walnuts and gets an allergic reaction. Fearing Vanessa's grandma will see Cookie as a monster? Cookie monster. Anyway, Mose is hungry and her stupid robot arm won't let her eat. So Cookie ends up wearing it for Ned, but malfunctions after Mose spilled some water on it, going on a rampage and destroying the science fair. While of course scaring Vanessa's grandma, seeing him as the monster she thought he always was. Study hall. It's study hall! Mose is wearing a neck brace after that robotic arm pinched a nerve, and everyone's afraid of her now because she's handicapped? Man, the 2000s were a different time. The entire episode takes place in this one classroom, which is pretty cool. Ned is trying to study, but due to other students, it makes it impossible. I like how the episode about study hall has nothing but shenanigans going on throughout. Pretty indicative of what any study hall ends up becoming. Yearbook. Ned is trying to end up in the yearbook next to Susie. Meanwhile, Cookie is starving for attention, so he tries to end up in as many pictures as he can. Ned is showing off his big smile. Mose says that he has a beautiful smile, but he's going overboard.
Go softer, like this. You mean like this? No. It's warmer, like this.
The interesting plot point comes with Jock Goldman. He comes to Ned and Cookie asking if Mose is seeing anybody. Cookie saying that she's actually dating Ned. So hilariously, whenever Ned sees Jock, he acts all lovey-dovey to Mose. And honestly, it's super cute. Ned doesn't end up winning anything with Susie, however...
Class couple! Ned Bigby and Jennifer Mosley, what?
Career week. Everyone took a test to see what career suits them best. Mose ends up with professional athlete, so Cookie becomes her agent and hooks her up with all kinds of brand deals and promotions. Meanwhile, Ned's test results have him in a career in education, which he's not happy about. Vice Principal Krubbs is excited, however, that Ned is going to become a vice principal. Ned desperately tries to find any other career, but to no avail. He eventually tells Krubbs that he doesn't want to be in education. And Krubbs tells Ned that he never wanted it either. He wanted to be a vice cop in Miami, and we get some nice character development for Krubbs. He says the police life wasn't as exciting as it was on TV, and at his level, he could only arrest bad guys and not truly help them. So he became a vice principal, so he could have a more direct influence on people's lives, helping kids make a difference before they have a chance to go down a bad path. And with Ned's focus on tips and wanting to help kids get through middle school, he's now more open to the idea of a career in education. Music class. Ned wants to be a rock star, not wanting to practice boring scales and learning the basics. His teacher, Mr. Gibson, though, is trying to teach him the importance of practicing the basics and quote-unquote boring stuff. Mr. Gibson is played by Art Alexakis. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. He's the lead singer of the band Everclear. I like it because they try to clean him up and look like a goody-good teacher, but his overall demeanor is super chill and cool. So, to convince Ned, he sings this awesome song. That's why I wanna be a rock star. It's called Rockstar, and it's apparently one of Everclear's real songs. So, I can't play it too much because of copyright, but I promise you it's a banger. And eventually, Ned learns the importance of practicing the basics. And I guess I'm an Everclear fan now. Class clown. The class clown is moving away, which depresses everyone in school. That's right, the class clown is equally, if not more important than teachers. So Ned tries to become the new class clown, but it doesn't work. So he holds tryouts, but still, no luck. There's a new kid though who has some bangers, but he's shy. Only Mose has heard him make comments to himself and knows he's funny. The new kid is just some guy. He's just funny. He's... Anyway, after seeing how sad all the kids are with no class clown, he overcomes his stage fright and consequences that could follow to make everyone laugh. Failing. Ned is failing his classes and needs to do better if he wants to make it to the 8th grade. Mose fails her first test and creates a strict schedule for herself, freaking out and overthinking everything, which obviously has her going insane. And Cookie is actually doing so well that he's been recommended to skip the 8th grade and go straight to high school. So instead, he purposefully fails all of his tests. And as for Ned, he resorts to using a magic 8-ball, or magic pyramid to give him his answers. There's this crazy guidance counselor who has multiple personalities and ends up destroying it, trying to get Ned to find an actual solution for his problems, which he ends up doing. Mose's problem gets solved with a simple, hey, failing happens, don't overreact, just get back up on the horse and try again. And Cookie just asks to not go to high school. Probably the easiest resolution. Tutors. Ned still isn't out of the weeds. He's failing science, and unless he wants to go to summer school, he enlists the help of a student tutor. It ends up being Jock Goldman again. He seemingly found Jesus or whatever, and genuinely is trying to be a nice guy and ask out Mose, this time for real. However, since he's so occupied with that, he's not helping Ned study, just doing his homework for him. And Ned goes through multiple different tutors that are all awful, until he lands on the perfect one, Mr. Sweeney. Which, hey, what better tutor for science than the teacher himself? Double date. Ned asks Susie to be his date for the dance, under the guise of it being a double date with Mose, so there's less pressure. And she says yes! Ned finally having his date with Susie. But Mose doesn't have a date. Luckily though, there's Jock Goldman to the rescue again. Being a changed man, Mose gives him a chance. Cookie asks out Vanessa to the dance, but she says no. So Lisa Zemo asks him out instead. It's a contractual date that comes with a free sweater, so he agrees. Just then though, Vanessa changes her mind and says she'll go with him. So now Cookie has to balance 2 dates. It's the night of the dance and everyone is having a good time. Apart from Cookie. Ned is trying to make the moves on Susie, but he has diarrhea. He spends the entire episode needing to leave to blow up the bathroom, and honestly, shame. Cookie's plan of balancing his 2 dates eventually fails. They both find out and Vanessa walks off angrily, but it's Lisa Zemo who actually seems more heartbroken about this. So later he finds Lisa and we get a super cute callback to season 1.
Do you want to dance?
No.
Well, can I dance next scene?
Would you like to dance?
I'm obviously with someone.
Then can I dance next to you while you stand there?
Ned drinks some Pepto and says he's finally gonna make a move, to find Susie and give her a kiss. He finds her by the punch bowl and...
Whoa! Susie's on the dance floor!
Jock sees this and walks away heartbroken, with Susie showing up none the wiser. And the final episode of season 2 is The Last Day. There's a ton of shenanigans with Gordy, the Weasel, Cookie, and everyone, but the primary conflict comes with Ned and Mose. They haven't told Susie about their kiss yet and are naturally scared about doing so. Eventually, they both realize how this secret will harm their respective relationships with Susie, so they both try to come clean. However, it turns out Susie already knew and was testing Mose's loyalty as her friend, and Ned's loyalty as her new boyfriend? Alright, Ned and Susie are finally dating, but it doesn't feel that satisfying. Ah well, at least Ned and Mose can finally move past that awkward kiss, laughing about how awful the kiss was and how neither of them felt a thing.
See nothing. Yep, didn't feel a thing.
Ending Season 2. Season 2 is honestly probably my favorite of the show's run. The balance between wacky episodes and serialized plots really comes to a head here. We spent the entire show building up this Ned and Susie relationship, only to have this unexpected Mose turn. The show has definitely had less and less of a focus on the tips themselves. Some episodes like car wash, recycling, and school websites aren't really things middle school kids need to worry about. It's clear the show wanted to take a more serialized and goofy direction with the episodes. There's still some handy tips, but they feel more like an afterthought. They were kind of handicapping the show overall. But with all of this, I was more excited about the plot and where Ned and Mose would end up more than anything with Season 3. So, let's see how the show manages to wrap this all up. With the new season comes a new grade. The gang are now 8th graders, needing to deal with all the new trials and tribulations that come with it. Mose is trying to deal with their new English teacher. She teaches from home on a Zoom call. Oh wait, it's like 2007. She calls in from Skype and is super mean, and Mose immediately doesn't like her. Cookie is trying to date Lisa Zemo. Wait, what? Yeah, she got new allergy medication and her sniffling sick days are gone. However, Cookie's not the only one to take notice of her new look, with now basically every boy in school crushing on her. Maybe Gordy's got some advice.
Do you think Lisa Zemo's hot?
I can't answer that due to the fact that I'm 40.
And lastly, there's Ned, who accidentally knocked out Loomer and is starting off 8th grade with a new bully image, with all of his friends being afraid of him, and Susie thinking he's a jerk. This happens multiple times until they come up with the obvious solution, to fake a fight. The plan works and Ned is no longer scary, and Susie likes him again. We also learned that iTeacher had a new grade resolution, to not be afraid of her students anymore. So she went overboard with the meanness, having her and Moses' bond grow a bit stronger. Dodgeball. It's raining outside, meaning PE is now inside, which also means it's time for dodgeball. While Loomer and his friends naturally dominate and pummel everyone else, Ned is put in charge of being dodgeball captain. His secret weapon was gonna be Mose, however she gave up playing dodgeball after giving Coconut Head a bloody nose and missing teeth. Cookie eventually gets fed up with Loomer and proves he's got an arm on him, but Loomer manages to persuade Cookie to fight for his side. I'm always a fan of dodgeball and stuff. The Dodgeball movie, Dodgeball Academia the game, they always make for really low stakes, fun, cheesy action. Mose eventually joins the team when she realizes she never hurt Coconut Head. So with her, they slay Loomer's team and win the game. I think there's literally just one tip in this episode, and that's to stay alert, which doesn't really help. I'll give you a real tip. In my school, if you didn't want to play dodgeball or any of the sports, you could just ask to run the track or do push-ups or something, and 9 times out of 10 the teacher would let you do it, but only try doing that occasionally. On a game you really don't want to play, asking too often will have the teacher catch on and most likely tell you no more often. Reading. Ned has a book report and doesn't want to read. This is so real, I don't think I ever read a single book in school. I just used SparkNotes and read the Wikipedia. It explains my D-. Meanwhile, Mo starts a book club, but all the girls just want to gossip. Cookie wants to join because he wants to find a new girlfriend, but Mose says no. The whole episode has Ned constantly putting off reading a book, until he learns, yeah, he kinda has to. With some actual good tips once again.
Calculate how many pages per day you have to read. 8 to 10 pages seems a lot less scary than a 223-page novel.
Principals. The school's principal is retiring, Principal Pal. He's a senile old man who seemingly has no idea what's going on. Anyway, Krubs is gunning for the position. Everyone imagines how awful and strict things will be under his reign, so Ned and Cookie go on a journey to find a different teacher who would be better as the new principal. They've immediately turned Krubs into a bit more of an antagonist for season 3, which I'm fine with. His personality is better suited for a villain anyway. All the other teachers are afraid of going against Krubs, and the gang is seemingly out of options. That is until Mr. Right shows up. He's initially against the idea, but Krubs pushes his buttons one too many times, so they lock up Krubs and get Mr. Right his interview. And gets the job. Halloween. It's the Halloween episode. The school is setting up for the Halloween dance. They knock out Principal Powell and need to weekend at Bernie's him. It's all a fun lead up for the next episode. Vampires, ghosts, werewolves, and zombies. The episode has everyone actually turning into the monsters they dressed up as in the previous. It's very fun and a pretty big departure from what the show usually is. Ned's a vampire, unironically giving tips to a monster middle school.
If you're the only ghost in school and need a friend, grab a zombie who's half dead anyways and finish the job.
Popularity. The school releases an LS Mark style ranking every student by popularity list every week. Mose is in the top 10, but so is Susie, which worries Ned because popular kids only date popular kids. Meanwhile, Cookie's ranked pretty low and is set on finding the person behind this list. Missy actually takes Ned under her wing, giving him lots of bad advice and scaring off Susie with every attempt. It turns out though, Missy's not actually doing this to just be mean, but because she likes Ned and doesn't want him and Susie to get together. Where it turns out Susie also made these horrible changes so Ned would like her. Ah, young love. Meanwhile, Mose is hanging with the popular kids, but realizes they're very boring, opting to hang out with her unpopular but actual friends. Stress. We once again get introduced to a new character, Evelyn Kwong, a super smart girl who acts as Cookie's rival. She's loud, boastful, rude, and when I was younger, super hot. I don't know, I kinda like it.
Simon Nelson Cook is not!
Cookie pushes off everything, including a date with Lisa to study and outperform Evelyn. Mose learns that the eye teacher and her have a lot in common, which scares Mose, not wanting to end up on a screen. So she purposefully starts acting lazy and overly relaxed. Meanwhile, Ned overhears Susie talking on the phone to someone, saying how she loves him and can't wait to see him. Instead of talking to her about it, he instead runs away to avoid confrontation and getting broken up with. It turns out, however, Susie was just talking to her dad who moved away for a new job, but is coming back to see her. Once again, Ned fell victim to his own overthinking. Mose learns that some stress is good, just don't overdo it and end up teaching English. In a box. And Cookie gets a higher grade than Evelyn. But when he tries to ask out Lisa, she now already has plans. For a while. Needing to learn that while grades are important, don't miss out on the fun middle school things while you can. Art class. Ned draws some squiggly lines.
That's a naked lady.
What?
The art class's budget got cut and they need $20,000 to save the art program. We get introduced to the art teacher here, and he just might be the funniest character in the show.
No emotion, too much emotion. Just throw up a little.
They end up holding an art show and using Ned's naked lady picture for controversy. It made it on the news and Evelyn keeps slapping Ned. He says he's sick of this picture since it keeps getting him into trouble, but the art teacher has some motivating words.
You must understand that inside us all is an artist who must never be ashamed to express it.
So, with Ned's accidental masterpiece, a rich bidder shows up and gives them $20,000, saving the art program. Also, apparently the art teacher is played by Nolan North, famous voice actor known for voicing Deadpool? I guess that explains why his comedic delivery is so good.
You think I'm a great artist?
Oh, no, not at all. You got lucky.
Lost and Found. Ned finds a pair of autographed Carmelo Anthony sneakers in the Lost and Found. He tries to take it for himself, but Mose rats him out. Krubs, though, says at the end of the day, if they go unclaimed, he can have them. The reason Mose ratted out Ned is because she lost her puppy bear, and has been checking the Lost and Found every day in hopes that he pops back up. Well, that's kinda sad. Meanwhile, Cookie lost his MP3 player and is desperate to find it, mainly because it has an embarrassing song he wrote and doesn't want anyone to listen to it.
Cowboy Cookie, the ladies really love him. Cowboy Cookie, the best you ever saw. Cowboy Cookie, the bullies they don't scare him. Cowboy Cookie, yippee.
Wait a minute, that's a banger! After a bunch of shenanigans, the gang learns that Krubs has a secret lair where he keeps all the cool lost and found items to himself. Mose finds her puppy bear, and Cookie finds his MP3 player. The end of the day comes by and nobody reclaimed the shoes. Only for Seth to show up and say that they're his. However, rules are rules, but I'm sure Ned will do the right thing.
Sorry, Seth. Finders keepers.
No, he of course gives them back. Social studies. There's a big social studies project where the duo with the best project get to go on a vacation to the White House. Cookie wants to partner up with Lisa so he can have a romantic time. However, she partners up with Seth. and Cookie partners with Evelyn. He doesn't want to go on a weekend getaway with her, so he sabotages their project. Until he realizes if Seth and Lisa win, then they win the prize. So Cookie sweet talks Evelyn back into making the best project together.
You make me do crazy things.
Now tell me what's really going on.
Meanwhile, Ned and Mose are partnered up. However, since him and Susie are now dating, he spends every waking moment being lovey-dovey and wanting to spend time with her. This makes Mose kinda jealous.
I'm not jealous.
Okay, sorry. It's not a lover's kind of jealousy. More so, she just wants to hang out with her friend. But Ned keeps dropping plans to instead hang with Susie. She traps Ned in their Mount Rushmore project out of anger, where Ned hallucinates the presidents talking to him. I forgot to mention this, but in previous episodes, Ned would have hallucinations of presidents on his shoulders, acting as his conscience, the good and evil voices in his head. And George Washington, the president who cannot tell a lie, says something interesting.
I like Mose better than Susie.
I know it's just a funny line, but it is interesting to think about, since these presidents are Ned's thoughts given life. He apologizes and promises to make more time to hang out with Mose for video game movie pizza night. Oh yeah, throughout the episode, Mr. Wright has his desk in random places. Principal Pal hasn't resigned yet, and Mr. Wright is too afraid to confront him on it. However, he eventually tells Pal that he's the new principal and needs to leave. Which he does, saying this was all a test. Being principal means being put in difficult situations. And the episode ends with Pal actually becoming the new social studies teacher. And Cookie and Evelyn win the trip. Embarrassment. Ned keeps embarrassing himself in front of Susie. Burps, flies down, the works. And Susie is pretty grossed out by it, avoiding Ned at all turns. She is not a ride or die kind of girl. Cookie, meanwhile, keeps getting pantsed, trying to find ways to avoid it. The main story comes with Mose, however. She's trying to flirt with this new student from Brazil, named Feynman. His full name is Feynman Fortune. She's nervous and constantly fumbles the ball, with Feynman never saying anything to her. It's a really good episode. Middle school is the worst and easiest time to feel embarrassed about every little thing. Cookie solves his pants problem by wearing a janitor's outfit. Mose learns that the reason Feynman hasn't talked to her is because his English isn't very good and he's embarrassed by it. Feynman is Mose's new love interest for the season since, well, everyone else has got one. Susie eventually farts in class, but Ned takes the fall for her. But he gives a rah-rah speech to the class, saying how everyone has done something embarrassing in their life and it's what makes them human. The bus. Another one of these episodes that takes place primarily outside the middle school. Ned wrote a love letter note to Susie that said, "I love you," which is a bit too soon. So he wants to rush to school to steal the note back. However, Mr. Quest, who's driving the bus, is depressed. Meanwhile, Cookie misses the bus and needs to find creative ways to get to school on time as to not break his perfect attendance record. And Mose, she just wants to sit next to Feynman. Personally, I don't know how any of these kids have the energy to do all of this nonsense. When I was in middle school, the morning bus was used as disassociation time. Mose doesn't get to sit next to Feynman, Cookie makes it on time, and Ned steals Susie's math homework instead of the love note. And as for me, I listen to illegally downloaded music on LimeWire on my iPod Nano. Bad hair days. Ned plans on sneaking out to the high school to get a free haircut from the cosmetology class, with Coconut and Jerry wanting in. Also, quick side note, it's only in this season do they actually call Jerry by his name, which is Crony. Jerry Crony. They never say Jerry, I just looked him up on the wiki and saw his name was Jerry. So, okay, Coconut Head and Crony also want free haircuts, so the three of them concoct an escape plan to leave class and sneak to the high school, with each step of the way all of them getting caught, except for Ned. He gets his haircut, but not without a total screw-up. Meanwhile, Feynman says,
"I don't like hair,"
which makes Mose insecure. She goes to Missy to give her a ton of makeovers, but Feynman still says,
"Sorry, still don't like hair."
It turns out, though, he was actually saying, "I don't like here," as in America. He's homesick, and Ned gets a hairdo from all the teachers with bad hair. Dismissal. The episode has a fun gimmick. From the final bell to bus leaving is 11 minutes, so we get to see the crucial moments of everything that happens in between. Susie moved into Ned's locker and got rid of some of his stuff. That, along with now having his personal space invaded, he's stressing out like a boomer who hates his wife. Meanwhile, Mose needs to pee, and we see the unfairness between the boys line and girls line. Most importantly though is Cookie. He runs to his locker to grab his science book, and
he's off!
So now he needs to run away from Evelyn to avoid getting beaten up. Gordy tells Ned to be a man and stand up to Susie. However, every time he tries to do it, she gets sad and he backtracks. It's okay, Ned. The puppy dog eyes are forever powerful. Eventually he settles and just deals with it, and Gordy tells him that he did become a man because of that, saying it's a man's job to make sure a woman is always happy. Mose gets sick of gender norms and decides to rush into the boys' room and use the stalls. People should be allowed to pee wherever they want. Eventually, Cookie realizes that running away from Evelyn isn't working, so instead, he confronts her.
You don't hate me, you fear me.
Seeing he's the only one who challenges Evelyn and doesn't back down, and without him, she would be floating aimlessly in a school of mediocrity with no drive or purpose. So, in response, Evelyn... Alright, Cookie! And everyone makes it onto the bus happily ever after. The school play. This is the plot of every school play episode. Tell me if you've heard this one before. There's this handsome theater kid named Spencer. They're doing a play on Romeo and Juliet. Spencer is Romeo, and of course, Susie is Juliet. Romeo and Juliet share a kiss, so naturally, Ned is constantly trying to sabotage the show to stop it. After a bunch of failed plans, eventually Spencer and Susie get hurt. And with Mose directing the play, she forces Ned and Cookie to take on the lead roles. Revenge. After enough of Loomer's pranks, Ned decides to take revenge. His successful revenge has other students asking him to help get revenge on their behalves. He agrees and becomes the Revenger. Meanwhile, Evelyn told Cookie to study his logarithms for a pop quiz. However, it turns out the quiz was actually on algorithms. So Cookie fails, and naturally wants revenge. He fails every attempt. However, Evelyn actually ends up apologizing to Cookie. However, Cookie's next plan accidentally ends up working, soaking her with water balloons. Ned also realizes he's gone too far with this revenge thing. The moral, I guess, being that revenge is bad. Although, not really, because all these kids kinda deserved it. School records. Everyone's trying to change a record. Ned trying to do good deeds to change his permanent record, Mose is trying to break all the sports records, and Sweeney incorrectly marked Cookie as absent, ruining his perfect attendance record. So he gets all of his friends to try and trick Sweeney, putting him in a time machine and going back in time to mark him present. The plan doesn't work, but Sweeney sees how everyone worked hard for this scheme and reverses his decision. They're slowly starting to make Sweeney a more likable teacher, which I really enjoy. Remember, the moral of the first episode was that it takes time to build a bond with a new teacher. Last year, Sweeney was the evil science teacher, but now, since they all have history together, the students are slowly warming up to him. Hallways. This episode kind of follows up on that previous statement. Sweeney makes Ned the hall monitor, because he has important business to attend to. Ned naturally doesn't enforce the rules, and everyone appreciates that, being a lot nicer to him. The hallways eventually become complete chaos, and Krubs asks Sweeney why is Ned in charge of all of this? Where Sweeney admits that he just wanted to watch movies and eat popcorn instead of hall monitoring. Once again, it kinda makes us root for Sweeney, showing us that him and Ned kinda have a lot in common. Friends moving. Mose and Feynman are getting closer. However, Feynman says his parents are moving him back to Brazil, since he hasn't made any friends and is failing his classes. Mose obviously doesn't want that to happen, so she asks Ned for help to convince Feynman's parents that he's popular and should stay. Meanwhile, Evelyn gives Cookie to give her some rings, officially solidifying their relationship. But Cookie says that he's moving away and can't date her. Everybody hears about this and starts spending time with Cookie, giving him gifts and treating him like royalty. Feynman's parents come to school and Moses' plan goes into action, with everyone showing Feynman love and attention, as well as Gordy cosplaying Krubs to tell Feynman's parents how he should stay. Everyone eventually gets caught, and the real Krubs actually has some insight as to why Feynman has been acting weird recently.
What is wrong with my son? He's in love!
Yep, Feynman is into Mose. His parents realizing this then change their minds, letting Feynman stay. Oh yeah, by the way, Susie's moving. She's been acting all weird all episode and avoiding Ned.
My dad's job is so far away, so we're moving closer. I didn't know how to tell you, so I sorta didn't.
Susie just might be the worst girlfriend ever. Boys. Ned is depressed that Susie moved away, with Cookie saying the solution is some time with the boys. However, no matter what silly antics they get up to, Ned is still depressed. Meanwhile, Evelyn goes to Mose for some advice on how to get boys, which is kinda sweet. It shows that Evelyn is trying to be more likable so Cookie would actually like her in return. Everyone sees how depressed Ned is, and come up with a plan for the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Even Sweeney gets involved, seeing how sad Ned is and mentions how the guide has helped many students. Eventually, Ned realizes that acting mopey won't solve his problems, and vows to move past this. With the next episode. Girls! Ned is ready to move on and find a new girlfriend, and Cookie wants some tips on how to get Lisa to like him again. So, Ned gives his expertise on girls.
They wear shoes on their feet, and they smell nice.
And?
Alright, yeah, he's kinda useless. So, Mose takes the reins for giving tips, with the full presentation, of course.
If you're a guy who's confused about girls, check out these tips.
I think this is the first time Mose talks with the audience. It's weird. She actually gives some helpful tips. Heck, we could even see Evelyn taking her advice and trying to be nicer.
Come! Walk me to class now! I mean, please. Now, please!
One of the tips on how to meet girls is to join clubs or electives that girls would be interested in. Ned mentions how he couldn't find a girl. Mose asks him his type, where Ned says his perfect girl is smart, athletic, has a great smile, and is a great friend, jokingly mentioning how when he sees her, she'll be showered with bright lights from the heavens and the angelic choir will sing. Oh, it's just Gordy and the choir class. Mose tries to help Ned out with some speed dating, but no luck. There's just no girl that fits his criteria. He explains his ideal girl to Cookie, and Cookie says he's just describing Mose. And when Ned sees Mose again, she's showered with that heavenly light and angelic choir.
Okay, Gordy, enough with the lights.
I fixed them, and I got the choir back in the music room.
Why are you looking at me like that?
This is a great episode. Susie calls Ned at the end of the episode, so I guess they're still dating. But seeing how hard Mose worked to make Ned happy with a new girlfriend really shows her dedication to her friend. And Ned just kinda realized that maybe he does have stronger feelings for Mose. Also, while we're here, I prefer Cookie and Evelyn over Cookie and Lisa. Cookie is obviously only interested in Lisa because she's now attractive. The relationship potential doesn't really go farther than that. At least with Evelyn, there's a possible rival-turned-lovers dynamic. Cell phones. 2006 and your flip phones. Ned and Susie have come up with a schedule where they can call on the phone between classes. However, due to shenanigans, the calls always end with Ned saying something out of context that sounds bad.
So, what do you think about me coming back this weekend?
Meanwhile, Cookie is wearing a cell phone jacket in hopes to enter a radio contest to win a brand new car. They make the call and Cookie actually wins the car, but you gotta be 18 to play. So he loses. Ned is freaking out because of all the phone calls with Susie, so Mose lets Ned borrow her phone to call her.
Okay, I believe you. But if you ever hang up on me again, we're finished. Ned?
Susie? Charge up every night. Because you never want a dead battery during an emergency.
And this is actually where Ned and Susie's relationship ends. She actually breaks up with him. And you know what? Good. Every single time Ned does anything quirky or Ned-like, Susie rolls her eyes and has this attitude of, oh, this is embarrassing. She's quick to anger, and we saw all of those red flags while she was dating Loomer. Susie's never really shown to be compatible with Ned. She's nice to him sometimes, sure, but overall she's been a walking red flag since the beginning. But she's cute and athletic, which as middle school students we will always prioritize over someone who's actually cool and worth our time. Woodshop. Ned blows up the art class. Literally. And now have to take woodshop as a temporary elective. Ned tells Mr. Chopsaw that he's building a kitty mansion for his girlfriend.
Jennifer loves kitties?
What? Mose isn't my girlfriend.
Really? She talks about you all the time.
And when he hears her talking to Mr. Chopsaw, saying things like, what if he doesn't like me? Ned immediately assumes it's about her confessing her feelings to him. Especially when she says she's making something special, and it's not for Feynman. It sounds like Ned needs some help from an expert.
Look, you two are bound to go out sometime, so why not now? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out, you break up, and you never speak to each other again.
Ned is confused about his feelings for Mose, but ultimately decides that if she likes him, why not go for it? He gets her some flowers, but quickly learns that what she built was a rocking chair for a competition. So Ned ditches his plan and tries to forget that this ever happened. Library. Taking a break from the love story, we got some silly episodes. Ned and Cookie try to check out a book from the library, but they're on an overdue books list. However, they said they returned the book. Loomer says he offers services to find lost books for a fee. The two come to the conclusion that Loomer is stealing books and hustling money out of students so they can be returned. The whole episode has them being detectives, trying to learn how Loomer got so smart with his tactics and extortion. And it's from reading a book. Wow, the library is so helpful. Volunteers. The gang need to do volunteer work for a school project. Ned hangs out with an old lady and brings her to Polk to have some fun. Cookie volunteers at the school store with Evelyn, where more lover's tension is built between the two. And Mose has to repaint the school's side entrance with Loomer and her friends. It's a fun episode with lots of silly moments you'd expect with the setup. But most importantly, something incredible happens. This guy talks.
Volunteers are heroes. They sacrifice their time for the betterment of others and ask for nothing in return.
I know, it's crazy. I still don't know his name. Getting organized. Ned is unorganized, so he recruits the help of 3 students, Evelyn included, to help him get his life in order. All throughout, we get to watch the original Inside Out. All of Ned's emotions and motor skills are a mess trying to make this poor middle schooler function. Just like in the girls episode, it's actually the crew of nerds that give out the tips. Buying a binder with dividers so you can keep track of all your homework, permission slips, syllabus, and whatever important pieces of paper you need. Which I actually did, after years of just stuffing pieces of paper in my backpack and hoping for the best. And probably the best tip I always used was just to lay out your clothes for the next day on a chair or something. Extra credit. Ned tries to get extra credit in 3 different classes, so to save time he creates one giant extra credit project of all 3, a pyramid. The dimensions for math, the history for social studies, and the hieroglyphics for English. However, he's not allowed to do this, so he's trying to sneak it past all 3 teachers to give him a good grade before they all find out. Mose wants to make a volcano, but after realizing that's what everyone does, she ups the ante and makes a real-life volcano. But she never did the written part, which is usually the most important part of any extra credit assignment. Fundraising. The school is having one of those stupid chocolate sales to raise money for new gym equipment. Ned and Cookie eat all the chocolate and go into debt, so they need to come up with a creative way to make some money. Every plan being a complete failure and pushing them further into debt. Eventually, Ned comes up with a great solution to make money that you, the viewer, could recommend for your own school. Throwing stuff at your teachers. Competition. There's the social studies competition that Ned chose Missy to be his partner for, since she's devious and will help him win. Meanwhile, Mose is lacking in volleyball. She learns it's because Susie brought out her competitive spirit and gave her something to work extra hard for and be better than. Ned learns that cheating and winning by any means necessary isn't how to do things. Yeah, pretty basic stuff. Making new friends. Mose wants Ned, Cookie, and Feynman to be friends. However, Feynman makes it pretty clear.
I don't like you.
Ned is trying to connect with Feynman, but accidentally keeps offending him, where it seems like Ned is a bit jealous. So instead, he tries to show that he's not as perfect as Mose thinks he is. He gets Missy to hit on him, but he's undyingly loyal to Mose. Ned plants some money on the floor for him to find, and when Feynman takes the money, he says he's going to donate it to charity. Eventually, Ned apologizes for trying to set up Feynman. But Feynman says the only reason he was mean in the first place is because Mose talks about Ned all the time, and he felt a bit jealous himself. Showing that, hey, maybe Ned and Feynman have more in common than they thought. Positives and negatives. A big part of science and a big part of life. Loomer learns how to shock people and ends up using that evil knowledge on Cookie. Ned is dealing with a depressed kid whose negative energy spreads and infects the students. So Ned is trying to find a way to turn that negative into a positive. And most importantly, we have Mose. She's going on a date with Feynman, and tonight's the night they're finally going to kiss and have sparks fly. They kiss, and... she felt nothing. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Like kissing a brick wall. So she spends the entire episode trying to create romantic scenarios and force that positive, warm, fuzzy feeling. But every attempt has her feeling...
nothing.
Interesting. Money. The gang needs some money to buy concert tickets. They set up a small jobs business, but Ned and Cookie quickly abandon it in search for easier money. Cookie tries putting on a show, but it's a massive failure. Ned just borrows money from Missy, but learns she charges interest, needing to work off the money by being Missy's little worker. Mose is the only one who earned money the right and painless way. Ned and Cookie eventually apologize to Mose and she pays off their debts, learning there's no substitution for hard work and easy money doesn't exist. Parties. Okay, so this is actually one of the most important episodes. Seth's having a party at his place. Once again, another episode that doesn't take place in school. Missy forced Ned to ask her out to the party, so they're technically on a date right now. However, Ned sees that Susie is at the party, so he plans on finding ways to ditch Missy and rekindle his relationship with Susie. Essentially, he's doing what Cookie did last season, balancing two different dates without them finding out. Feynman shows up to the party but needs to leave, giving Mose a quick kiss that, once again, doesn't make her feel anything. She's trying to figure out what's going on.
The only time I ever felt a spark was when I kissed Ned.
So, she plans on doing an experiment, a simple kiss test. Cookie has this magnetic spin the bottle paperclip that will automatically have the bottle land on who you want it to, and Mose plans on using that to kiss Ned. Ned manages to get Missy kicked out of the party. They're actually rekindling their relationship pretty well. They go in for a kiss, but Ned starts to feel guilty about everything, letting Missy back in and telling Susie he was technically on a date with her, where Susie says this:
I'd hang on to him for you and not move away.
It's not the moving away that broke you two up. It's the fact that you broke up with Ned because of cell phone shenanigans that any normal person would be understanding about.
The last time I talked to her, she dumped me via cell phone.
Susie goes home but gives Ned a peck on the cheek. But Mose spins the bottle, and Ned happens to fall down right next to her, leading to the fireworks she's been looking for. Spring fever. The sun has come out and Ned desperately wants to go outside. That's all that's on his mind, all while Missy has spring love and is desperately trying to kiss him. Cookie finally gets a date with Lisa Zemo, but because of the spring pollen, it triggers her allergies and she's back to being snotty and gross, which Cookie isn't a fan of, once again avoiding Lisa like the plague. Proving that Cookie only likes Lisa for her looks, which is exactly why I don't root for this pair. Where's Evelyn? And lastly, there's Mose. She's conflicted about her feelings. Feynman goes in for a kiss, but she avoids it, and whenever she sees Ned, those feelings come rushing out. She spends the entire episode conflicted, eventually coping with the thought that maybe Feynman just needs kissing lessons. So Mr. Chopsaw tells him to do that. The episode ends with Sweeney allowing Clash to be outside. He's so ecstatic that he even allows Missy to kiss him, which Mose sees and is a bit hurt by it. School newspaper. Mr. Monroe is back! Oh yeah, he hasn't been here all season. He puts Ned in charge of the school newspaper and he rounds up Mose, Cookie, Seth, and the rest of the gang. They need to solve the mystery of the missing school budget from the school director, who's been stealing it for himself. It's another fun little mystery, but at this point, I'm kinda more interested in the Ned and Mose stuff, so let's move on. Health. Everyone's dealing with growing up problems. Cookie has mood swings, Ned has an embarrassing itch, and Mose doesn't want to do CPR mouth to mouth on this gross dummy. Jealousy. Alright, we're finally back on track. Missy is being incredibly possessive of Ned, so to combat this, Ned pitches an idea to Mose. That they fake go out, so Missy backs off. And it doesn't take much convincing. All they gotta do is hold hands, cuddle,
Back on the cheek. Okay, I'm in.
During all of this, Mose's love interests fight for her honor. Seth, Feynman, and Loomer. Mose doesn't care though. She's too busy really enjoying Ned's plan.
Yes! You can let go now.
Meanwhile, Cookie is trying to get Lisa jealous, acting like he has this super cool girlfriend. However, it clearly doesn't bother Lisa, but it does bother someone. When it comes to show off his new girlfriend, Cookie says he's dating Evelyn. But Lisa says that as long as Cookie's happy, she's happy.
We're going out? Kiss me, you fool!
Lisa doesn't get jealous. Same with Mose. Mose doesn't understand the whole jealousy thing. Their plan works, and Missy backs off.
So I guess we don't have to pretend go out anymore.
No, I guess not.
Missy overhears this and immediately swoops in. But the more Mose sees Missy being all lovey-dovey with Ned, the more it angers her. Until...
Stay away from my man, sister!
Missy officially backs off, seeing how much Mose loves Ned.
That was amazing! I really thought you were jealous.
Tests. Ned is failing his tests and needs to become a super nerd so he can pass them and graduate middle school. Meanwhile, Mose is taking a teen magazine test, Rate Your Date, where she's comparing Feynman and Ned. This is her last resort because she's out of ideas on who she has feelings for. Cookie is against this too, but immediately realizes he can use it, making Evelyn take a compatibility test to show her that mathematically, they don't belong together. Ned takes on an alter ego known as Den Yib Gib, transforming his entire personality so he can be more like a nerd who passes tests. Because of this though, whenever Mose asks him a question for her relationship test, he ends up bombing, with Feynman answering every question correctly. So she chooses Feynman as her new boyfriend. Meanwhile, it turns out Cookie and Evelyn actually do have a lot in common, and when Cookie realizes this, he actually wants to give her a shot. However, she dumps him and goes out with Seth, because Seth doesn't make her take dumb compatibility tests and is an attractive idiot. The opposites attract, I guess. Ned ends up passing all of his tests. However, he finds Mose's magazine.
Hey, how'd you do in your tests? I aced them. But I think I might have failed the most important one.
When you like someone who is going out with someone else. Ned confides in Gordy that he thinks he likes Mose, so the first step is to get him to admit it to himself, and saying these magic words.
Susie's gone forever and I like Mose!
But one problem. She's officially dating Feynman now. Ned tells Gordy to go find out if Mose likes him back, Pinky promising that he doesn't tell her how he feels. So, Gordy subtly asks Mose how she feels.
Yeah, do you like Ned?
What?
She's in shock, but without hesitation.
But yeah, I think I like him.
Yes! However, she tells Gordy to promise her he won't tell Ned. Feynman gets a phone call and it turns out he's made the Brazilian soccer team, meaning he has the chance to go back home and make all of this easier. But he's leaving the decision up to Mose. Ned hears this and is finally gonna make a move. However, due to shenanigans, he can't do it. A bee stings his lip and he can't talk. He takes medicine, but it immediately makes him drowsy and passes out. The end of the day is here and Feynman needs an answer from Mose. She's not sure what to do. However, Cupid Gordy is here to save the day. He writes down that Ned likes her and shoots it in her direction. She reads the note and tells Feynman to go play soccer, which he's obviously stoked for. Ned wakes up, and both him and Mose are ready to finally admit their feelings for each other. And right before they get the chance to do so,
Susie Crabgrass!
Yeah, Susie's a wolf again.
Susie's dad got a new job that's closer, and she's back! Yay! And with all of that, this brings us to the final episode of Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. It's a made-for-TV movie that I remember being promoted like crazy. Every commercial was like, Ned? Mose? Will it happen? I remember being so excited for this special. So without further ado, let's finish this. Field trips, permission slips, signs, and weasels. What a name. The school is going on a field trip to the flower garden. Alright. Meanwhile, Ned and Susie are going out again. The signs part of the title is both literal and metaphorically. Metaphorically, Ned and Mose keep using the word sign. It's a sign that Susie moved back, and it's a sign that the two of them should just stay friends. There's a romantic flower garden part of the field trip, and Ned imagines kissing the beautiful girl he loves.
Hi.
The first third of the special has Cookie not having a permission slip to go on the field trip, so he gets Ned and Mose to find ways to let him go, with each scheme getting the two in trouble. Now, all three can't go on the field trip. Luckily, they manage to sneak out and use Gordy to tackle Krubs while they sneak on the bus. This gets Gordy fired. However, on his last day, he plans on destroying the weasel by any means necessary. Ned ends up on the wrong bus. He's supposed to sit with Susie, so she immediately chews him out for it.
You're supposed to be on my bus, Ned Bigby, not Jennifer's.
This is why it never works out with you two. This love triangle is the only thing I'm interested in. There's tons of other side plots going on. Loomer is once again trying to be a good boy to impress Mose. Cookie has become a superhero known as the Steel Eagle to impress Lisa, because obviously girls like heroes. And Gordy and the teachers go on a rampage to stop the weasel. They end up destroying the school and thus destroying the set since it's the last episode and they won't need them anymore. They all make it to the gardens but need to hide from Krubs. What follows is a bunch of silly shenanigans that has everyone running away, putting on disguises, etc. Cookie learns there's going to be a heist. Yeah, these criminals are planning on stealing the famous Wild Boy painting. They also end up having the security staff on notice after Mose touched an art piece. So now everyone is after the gang. Also, Susie, once again, is angry with Ned, knowing full well he snuck out of detention to go on this trip for her. And you know who else is upset about this? Mose, hitting the angry stage of jealousy, so she kisses Loomer to make him jealous. Before anyone can land another kiss though, Ned and Mose get caught. They run away and hide in the shrubs.
You know, you do have big brown eyes.
Where Ned apologizes to Mose for everything, planning on taking the heat so she can get away and hide on the bus, which she's grateful for. Ned hides in the trees and Sweeney finds him, but when Krubs asks Sweeney if he's seen Ned, Sweeney says no. He says it's an early graduation gift.
You'll be remembered as one of my worst students. And also one of my favorites.
It's actually a really heartfelt moment. Bitter rivals turn friends. During his escape, he tumbles down a hill and is beyond confused, once again just asking for a sign, and he gets it. A literal sign this time. Brown-eyed Mosalia flowers. We then get a really sweet montage, while the song Big Brown Eyes by the band Old 97s plays in the background. It's a very beautiful montage, and what I like are the highlights they chose. It's not just showing off all the lovey-dovey moments between the two, but every moment, whether they were in love or just friends. It's everything the two have been through together that strengthened their bonds, created the feelings they now have for each other. So, he calls up Mose and tells her to meet him in the rose garden, where they both finally admit their feelings for each other and decide to officially date, sealing it with a kiss. Ned and Mose are officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Yeah, the movie's not over yet. They come up with a plan to catch the thieves, getting the attention of everyone and meeting back up in one place. They get caught and arrested. Ned, Mose, and Cookie don't get in trouble since they saved the day, and Cookie's plan worked, Lisa being impressed and the two setting up a date. Also, Susie and Loomer date again. You see, everyone gets a happy ending. Everyone gets back to school, but it's completely destroyed. It turns out the weasel was a mother weasel and had babies, so they take them in, and Gordy befriends the weasel. He also gets his job back. Ned and Mose are going out, Cookie has his date with Lisa,
And we all live happily ever after.
and with that, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide reaches its end. I'd consider this the perfect finale, mainly because it's ultimately middle school. It's not really supposed to have life-changing moments that affect your long-term future, and that's what I really like. The season finale, and heck, the whole show if I'm being honest, just felt like another day of middle school. Sometimes it was just another day not thinking about girls or love or anything. Ned and his friends felt like real teenagers, just living day to day in middle school. They managed to feel like real friends, which honestly is something most children's sitcoms fail to capture. What's nice though is learning that Devin and Lindsay actually dated in real life. Alright, I hope we don't learn more than we actually should about that. But seriously, they did have such amazing chemistry. I can't think of another sitcom I watched as a kid that had a perfect couple with actual chemistry. Heck, in some of the bloopers, you can actually see how cute Devin and Lindsay were in real life.
Yo! Devin Joseph Werkheiser.
Why are you linked armed with me? It's like we're dating.
I'm thinking about all of you.
Reportedly, in 2008, Devin Werkheiser signed a developmental contract for a high school survival guide. However, it was never greenlit into production, since everyone was already busy with other projects. Daniel Curtis Lee was starring in Disney's XD's Zeke and Luther, Lindsay Shaw had a lead role in ABC's 10 Things I Hate About You, and Scott Fellows, the show's creator, would go on to make Big Time Rush. Devin Werkheiser would also be a lead in a Nickelodeon original movie, Shredder Man Rules. I watched it. I don't remember if it was good or not, but yeah. The stars just didn't align, and we never got a sequel to Ned's Declassified. However, our story doesn't end here.
Guess what? We have a podcast now. Ned's Declassified Podcast Survival Guide. We're gonna relive it so that you can relive it with us.
Every Wednesday.
Tune in.
Cut to 2023, where Devin, Lindsay, and Daniel would start a podcast. The idea behind it would be that it would act as an unofficial season 4 of the show, where the three would give tips to a now adult audience with their perspectives and experiences, as well as of course revisiting the show and telling stories, recapping their time working on it. It all started off very charming. Everyone had such a positive attitude and was recounting stories that felt like we were a part of.
I was the scapegoat for everything. Ned's tips were always like, Cookie, you're screwing up, man. Let me get you out of this situation. So.
Everyone looked great and genuinely happy to be with each other again, along with plenty of real-life stories that humanized them, overcoming addictions and being in a dark place, dealing with breakups, dating, all of that.
In your adulthood, getting through whatever you started with, whatever cards you were dealt mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever hangups you picked up, like a lot of people, it's hard to get through to that place where you actually, okay, I'm on my feet and I can actually like breathe and take life on a little bit.
What was also great was that both Devin and Lindsay were single at the time, and they definitely leaned into it, recalling how happy and cute their time was while dating, while occasionally still flirting, and fueling the Ned and Mose fans. Eventually, though, we started to learn a bit too much.
Do you remember the first that I
What are
gave
you gonna ask on this podcast? First what?
BJ.
Oh, okay. Now hey, I'm not gonna judge them as teens getting freaky with each other, that's all totally fine. What I am gonna judge though, is having to hear about it as an adult. Now, if it was just Ned and Mo's freaky stories with limited details, I'd be kinda fine with it, I guess. But the weird thing was hearing stories about how Lindsay would get freaky with every guy on set before eventually landing on Devin, while Devin awkwardly laughs and sits there. Also, their freaky stories have a lot of detail that I don't think a lot of people want to hear.
He didn't finish.
I know. Yep.
No.
You didn't.
The main purpose of the podcast, to my knowledge, was to drum up enough interest to hopefully get a reboot in the same vein as iCarly and Zoe 101.
Real
Sometimes
life?
I feel like I just want to touch you when you're talking about something really passionate and be like, hi. Hold my hand while you say that, and you can talk to them. Feel me.
Oh, come on, look at this. Even I'm a sucker for it. As time went on though, fans would slowly start to turn on this trio for a different reason. Some were sick of their pleas for a reboot, while others thought they were giving us too much information about their personal lives. Lots of weird stunts like Lindsay being pregnant with Devin's kid. The main controversy though was in 2024, when the docuseries Quiet on Set was released. It followed the exploits of Dan Schneider and other Nickelodeon execs and their abuse of child actors. One episode followed Drake Bell's horrific experience while working at Nickelodeon. It's all really heart-wrenching and disgusting stuff that makes it kinda hard to go back and rewatch your childhood favorites, knowing that behind the scenes, the actors were going through hell. Now, why do I mention this? Ned's Declassified wasn't a Dan Schneider production, so the actors have nothing but fond memories with working on set, which is great to hear. However, after the documentary was released, the trio would go on Instagram Live and poke fun at Drake.
Get back in your hole, Daniel, and give me your holes.
Sorry, we shouldn't joke about this. We really shouldn't.
This is awful. Why are we doing this?
Because this is about us. Listen, our set was not like that.
This is really what caused some serious backlash, and people who didn't even care about Ned's Declassified would jump in now and show their disdain for this podcast and them as people. They'd eventually apologize and say that they didn't watch the documentary yet before making the comments, but still, kinda bad optics and poor timing. The only people who cared about the podcast and a potential reboot were the fans. But now, with all this negative attention, there were more eyes on this trio than before, and not in a good way. You now have a lot of people with a sizable audience only interested in talking about the negatives and downfall of these former Nickelodeon stars, which isn't a good thing if it wasn't obvious. The fans were seemingly the only way a reboot was ever going to happen. There would need to be so much fan interest that the higher-ups couldn't ignore it, but now, with the damaged reputation the stars have made, it's hard to imagine one ever coming. Because I can't help but want to root for these guys. When it comes to every sitcom I watched as a kid, Ned's is probably my second favorite of all time behind Drake and Josh. You'll hear stories about Devin and Lindsay's past and how they've been through a lot. They're very open and vulnerable, not wanting to hold back, which is admirable. Daniel Curtis Lee is actually the one guy who has no real controversies. He's just along for the ride and trying to have fun. He's always laughing and trying to make awkward situations less awkward. A real gem of a guy.
Yeah, and you were my first kiss?
You were
That was
my first kiss. That
Hold
was your first kiss?
Hold on!
Are you serious?
So there you go. I didn't want to end this video on such a negative note. Ned's Declassified is a perfect time capsule of what it was like in middle school. Hectic, awful, but hey, with a few friends and a few tips, you'll be able to survive anything. hello and welcome to the bonus video portion of this video. I initially wasn't gonna do this, but I came across, let me cover up this thing here, my old middle school planner. I found it in a box full of old stuff, and it's from 2009 to 2010, so I was a freshman that year, and I was just like, oh my god, like, this is like a time capsule, it's gotta be. So, you know, I open it up, I flip to any page, and it's empty. Throughout the video, I made a bunch of comments, like, oh, I was dumb, I was lazy, I didn't read, I didn't do that. And I wanted to prove that it wasn't a bit, but it was like actually just how I was. Because like you could flip to any page and there's nothing. Like, it's so funny. I wish I of course going back, I wish I wrote stuff. I think I found a couple things, yeah, so here's one. August 28th, literature book. Read Most Dangerous Game. Discussion on August 31st. I promise you, I never did that. But, oh yeah. Here we go. Here's another one. Book review due. 250 pages. Once again, another thing I never did. I promise you, I never read 250 pages. I don't know what 9th grader is doing that. But going through this did get me kind of reminiscing, I guess, on middle school. And I know I have a bit of a younger audience. I know there's some people who are watching this who are either going to start middle school or are in middle school or are past middle school and absolutely hated it. And I guess I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, talk about it. If you are in elementary school, going to middle school, or if you're in middle school now, you know, there's a good chance you're not having a good time, right? It is one of, like, I said at the beginning of the video, and I did kind of mean it, where it could be considered as like one of the worst times in your life, mainly because it's such a big jump from what you're used to in elementary school. Look at this. This is like my own Neds podcast now. But, you know, unfortunately, all you can do is find little ways of peace. It was in the Mondays episode where they were like, oh, do something different, you know. Lisa Zemo packs a special lunch and Coconut Head watches the movies. You know, it's the best thing about middle school, the best way to survive it is to find your own peace with things, you know, try and look forward to doing things, because, yeah, kids are mean, teachers are mean, work is harder, right? You know, it's important to try and use that time to kind of grow and explore yourself as a person. I did find something here that was kind of funny. The only thing I used my planner for, I don't know if it was like this in other schools, but it was the hall pass, right? You had to write down your name and where you were going. And I'm looking at this, and every single page is just the bathroom. And if you look at the times, it's always different dates, but kind of the same time, 10:30, 11-ish. I did that because the middle school was different. I was like, ooh, like it was fairly big, and I was in science class every time, and I had a nice, sweet old man science teacher, greatest guy, probably one of the nicest teachers I've ever had in my entire life. And he was so kind, because there was a point where it became a pattern, where he would see me coming up with my planner, and he would eventually crack a smile. He was like, oh, it's 10:35, you have to go to the bathroom again. But he was so nice, he never tried to stop me or anything. He was like, all right, here you go. And of course, I never used the bathroom when I would go. I more so wanted to explore the school, because it was new, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I'm bored in class, so I would get up and like walk up the stairs and be like, wow, there's stairs now in this school. And there was an outside area as well that had classrooms. It was kind of two buildings with like trees and grass. So I was like, I'm gonna go for a nice walk outside. And I would just walk around the school and just like, yeah, a nice, very nice area. Ooh, look at this room, look at that room. I was just exploring for for like so much of middle school just because I was bored and I didn't want to do anything else. But yeah, I just, you know, I don't know. I guess I was in a reminiscent mood. I was just trying to think, and I'm using this as like my own middle school survival podcast now. So, you know, schoolwork is gonna be harder. You know, studying is the best you could do. Kids are gonna be meaner, right? If you're dealing with a bully, you know, I don't want to say just punch him in the face, but it's not a bad option, right? Obviously, the TV show isn't gonna tell you to do that because they don't want to inflict violence. But sometimes, if it's just one guy or girl, a little pal right in the kisser never hurt nobody. But yeah, I think that's all I really had to talk about. Just a fun little trip down memory lane, a little look into my life as a middle schooler, right? I don't have a lot of tips to give you because my tip was I stayed quiet. I had to deal with idiots because you're always going to have to do that in middle school. I didn't want to do the work because you're waking up at 6 a.m. to sit on the bus to go somewhere, and like, you know, it's 6:30 in the morning. It's 7:15. School starts. All right, here's calculus, right? Like, no one has the energy to want to do that. So it's hard, but ultimately, if you just apply yourself a little bit, try a little bit, you'll be able to get through middle school, and it'll be over before you know it. On to high school, right? Which is a lot easier as well. So there you go. Tips from a lazy student who barely passed middle school with like C's, right? So use that advice how you will. But yes, I also just wanted to quickly use this time because I was thinking about middle school and how it was terrible and how much better my life is now. But, you know, going back to everything with this channel, I want to use this time to be more grateful because I was thinking about middle school, which led me to a pit of sadness. But, you know, I mean, just thank you all for allowing me to do what I do and make videos about everything, you know, specifically, you know, the Power Rangers things again, allowing me to have a platform where I could talk about things where, thinking back in middle school again, that's when you're supposed to drop the kiddie things, right? So for example, being in the Power Rangers, that was cool and fine in elementary school. Once it's in middle school, you're supposed to drop it and forget about it and move on. It's one of those things where I never wanted to do it, and I never really did, but I always felt guilty for liking it, I guess, because middle school is terrible, and middle school kids are terrible, and the time is terrible. So I was like, yeah, I should drop this and no longer do it. Same with a lot of things, you know. I have my whole shelf of Nintendo games. I was always embarrassed to invite people over because they're like, oh, I have the kiddie thing. I have Mario, that's for babies. And, you know, I want this to kind of be a, I don't know, an example or something where if you are either in elementary school or middle school or you're young and you feel guilty or people make you feel bad for liking things that you like that are deemed for kids, you know, don't listen to them, right? Maybe it'll be annoying in the moment, but ultimately in the long run, you will be happier as an adult. I mean, look at me. Spoilers, you know, I'm 30 years old. I'm an old man, and I'm still enjoying life like this, loving Power Rangers. I got this Kirby hat on, right? Like, don't let anybody stop you. You know, middle school and being a teenager and growing up is already hard enough. To then have to be told to drop and forget all of the things that brought you joy as a kid in favor of growing up and forgetting about that's wrong, you know. And you know, you might hear it from people that you care about. It might even be your friends and family that are like, ooh, you're still into that, right? Like it's like I said, it's already bad enough having to be a teenager and going to middle school to then have to be into like, oh, well then forget about Nintendo and cartoons. I'm more into drugs or something, right? Like what's the alternative? What's a good middle school thing to be into? Like, throwing rocks at buildings or something. Like, it's okay to still be into the things that brought you joy and make you happy, right? And I don't know, I guess I just looked back recently while working on this video. You know, it put me, like I said, back in that middle school headspace where I was like, what was it like in middle school? I mentally went back there and I was like, ooh, that was not a good time. So the fact that now I'm able to do this, you know, full time and have an audience and have people be into what I'm doing, and also, I guess, feel like a friend to other people. You know, I have a lot of people who will leave comments or send me messages saying like, oh, you know, like they have that parasocial relationship where they feel like I'm their friend, and I'm all for that. Like, I don't see the negative side in that. I think it's great that I could do that for people, right? That you can relate to me and feel like you know me, because you kind of do. I kind of try to put myself out there to an extent where, you know, you see this grown-ass man talking about Power Rangers or TV shows and whatever from his childhood and like, oh, this is so great and cool. And, you know, I think everyone needs that. You know, some people, maybe you don't have a lot of friends or something. Believe me, I didn't have many friends in middle school either. I think I had like one, maybe one. So having that type of, I don't know, thing with YouTube where we can relate to stuff and you could feel at ease knowing that somebody is like you, I think that does wonders. That you can look on your YouTube, look on your screen and see me and relate to me and see yourself in me. You know, I think that is important, especially at a young age, if you are especially vulnerable to like just the growing up pains. So that's all. That's enough of my yapping. Thank you for joining me on this first and possibly last podcast.